All right, so it is 1:32, and we are ready to get started for this Groundwater Sustainable Agency meeting. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with the flag salute. Supervisor Wamhoff, if you can start us off with the flag salute, appreciate it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. Thank you for that. All right, moving on to item 3, public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items not on this agenda. This is also a place to suggest topics for future meetings. Comments can be 5 minutes or less. Do we have any public comment? Mark, come on up.
Director Wamhoff, welcome to the party. Hey, today I want to talk a little bit about subsidence, if I could. And in November, I think Stephanie did a good job of describing subsidence and what was going on and how DWR would be finalizing their plan, which they have done. And she used some words. I think it's kind of accurate. I did a lot of reading on this subject. We need to find ways to surgically go after areas that are causing subsidence. So this is going to be a surgical thing that the growers don't know where yet, so it's kind of like Russian roulette. We're going to find out if we got the bullet or not. But I have 3 points I want to make for the growers before the plans are finalized so that that input is in. And I think the first one, really, I think it's going to go without saying, but we're going to have to fallow specific areas of land. I hope that means that our sustainable yield, our reallocated sustainable yield, our transitional water doesn't go away because it's still hitting, because we're still producing that, if you will, but I realize that we won't be able to grow in those spots that have the worst subsidence. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is even bigger, and that's we need time. We need a lot of time. These are crops, these are perennials, long-term crops that we're talking about. And I'll give you 3 fast examples. The first one is there are growers out there fallowing land right now, and they might be fallowing the wrong land. For the Lascoides family, we are fallowing 20% of our white area acreage as we speak. And if we've fallowed the wrong 20%, we'll have to then go fallow some more and figure out what to do next. So give us lots of time. My second point is there are people that have bought or sold land, really, in this case bought, and they're going to get the big surprise, oh, I can't grow here. And the third one is there are many of us, Lascoides included, that have leased, or are leasees, and we're in the middle of contracts. And so I just want to stress to everyone, don't make it quick. It doesn't work that way. And DWR doesn't require it per se. They require that we get there. Like I said, I read a lot about it. And then the final point, hold on just for a sec. The final point is we have to decide how fast we want to put our plan together. We could be on the leading edge, or we could go slow and see what others are doing. I actually am okay with either. In fact, I would encourage us to be on the leading edge with our plan if it gives growers time to react so that we can set the standard for other GSAs. But if we're going to be tight and hard and have to go fast, I don't want to be first at all. I want to wait and see what everybody else is doing. So those are my 3 comments. I just wanted, because I love this forum, and I like getting up here and talking and saying things like this. And this gives us a chance as a grower to say something before the plans are really created. And I want to encourage my fellow growers to continue to do the same thing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you being here. All right, any additional public comment in the room or online? All right, hearing none, we're going to move into new business. Our first item, item A, is an action item.
Item 4A, action item, approval of Madera County Groundwater Sustainability Agency Committee Meeting Minutes from November 12th, 2025.
Excellent. Do we have any comments, questions on the item? Any public comment in the room or online? Okay, we're going to bring it back to my colleague to make a motion.
I move that we approve.
And I'll go ahead and second. Roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff,
Yes.
Director McCauley,
Yes.
vote passes 2-0.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item B, which is an informational item. Stephanie?
Item 4B, informational item, look back, look ahead, review 2025 accomplishments and 2026 goals for the Madera County GSA.
Thank you, Tukta. I'm ready to share my screen. And directors, we try to do an update once a year on our activities. This includes what we accomplished together, as well as what items we're looking forward to, or at least are on the agenda for this coming year. Okay. So looking back at 2025, we had a number of key policy issues that came before both the GSA committee here and your full board of directors. That included creating the committee and working through some bylaws. We also investigated what it would look like to refine some of our meter rules to close some loopholes. We walked through a farm unit policy change, I think 3 times before we found a way to do this fairly. We evaluated a number of satellite measurement options and then chose one. We adopted allocations through 2040 to provide some certainty to growers. And then in the Delta Mendota and Madera subbasins within the county GSA, we had adoption of domestic well mitigation rules. We had a number of things that sort of go on behind the scenes in order to keep us in compliance. That includes annual reports submitted April 1, and we'd like to do kind of a report out on that this year in the April meeting of anything that has changed in our annual reports. But in the Madera subbasin, we had to submit a plan amendment to DWR in 2025. We also revised the Chowchilla subbasin GSP a number of times, and we're able to remove it from the State Water Resources Control Board jurisdiction. That's a major win. And in the Delta Mendota, we're also looking forward to removing the Delta Mendota subbasin from the state board's jurisdiction. So in terms of regulatory compliance, which is a primary function, even though no one loves that, but it is what the agency was created to help do, there were a number of wins there. We created additional opportunities for feedback. This is a list of all of the committee meetings and then the corresponding board meetings, so we got to walk through issues a number of times. There were also other opportunities outside this forum. The Chowchilla Subbasin has an advisory committee with 1 representative from each GSA within Chowchilla. David Rogers from Madera County GSA serves on this. So we had a number of those meetings. If you're in the Delta Mendota, they have a subbasin coordination committee that's every Monday afternoon, often multiple times per month. And then we also see growers with our office hours or phone calls or pop-in visits. We did some focus groups as we prepared for domestic well mitigation, and then we've issued 2 or 3 questionnaires. We are also responding to requests from the greater public. We did, for whatever reason, 2 presentations to Uzbekistani delegations that were visiting and that had really similar groundwater issues, meaning they had significant overdraft that's causing problems in domestic wells, and they wanted to know how an allocation was developed. We've also had some Sac Valley agency that have reached down to us for the same reason. They have groundwater sustainability issues and wanted at least to see how we did it. A couple of publications in 2025. We're trying to do a rule booklet each year that provides an opportunity to just have a quick summary of all of the rules that relate to allocations, recharge, and land repurposing. We also have a big grower newsletter and then a monthly newsletter for more than 800 people. Okay, so lastly, looking ahead, we are in kind of two phases. I've termed these as implement and develop ideas and get feedback in this forum and elsewhere. So in terms of implementation for 2026, we do have meters, a vendor list of people who do meter inspections. We'd like to retrain and refresh everyone on that. We are planning a hydrosat/EraWatch training, or perhaps series of trainings. We're beginning our domestic well mitigation with quarterly updates. We're going to give you an update today as well as quarterly. And then we, as I mentioned, anticipate the Delta Mendota Subbasin coming out of the State Water Resources Control Board jurisdiction, and we'll do a summary rules booklet as well. So those are all things that there's existing authority and processes in place to do. And then a few things, some of which were mentioned by our public comment and Mr. Peters. So the state did release its final guidance on subsidence. I've read about half of it so far. I'm going to reach out to them and ask for a redlined version, because I'm trying to find what has changed between the draft and the final version. So that's one thing. We have to read and understand the guidance, and guidance is probably in scare quotes because I think it's more than guidance. We've also been notified from the state that they're going to start meeting with groups of areas with subsidence issues to direct them on how to develop a plan. So that will be one issue. Another idea we had is a more formal fallow fields program. We do let people fallow fields, and people do this all the time as part of standard farming practices. A fallow field program could have people notify us, and then we could zero out their ETAW, essentially zeroing out the satellite measurement, although we can measure it in the background. So there's the potential for a program there. We've had a couple people ask us about exporting from the Madera County GSA, meaning pumping within the county GSA, using that water on fields outside the county GSA, still within the county. Whether or not you need a rule for that, we can evaluate. And then lastly, you are going to see, coming to you next month, some subsidence for Chowchilla Subbasin GSP rules that are required by the state board as getting out of their jurisdiction. So we're going to share out what is proposed, see if we can refine that, and bring you back rules. So that's just the Chowchilla Subbasin GSP. So this concludes the look back and look ahead. I would be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I'm really interested in this subsidence report and issue and how that actually changes or affects implementation of SGMA moving forward. Are they essentially rewriting the handbook on how we're dealing with allocation in general, or where the draw is going to be coming from? Or, I mean, how does this affect, you know, how people are utilizing their ETAW right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So while we were doing the GSP planning process, there was not guidance on subsidence. So everyone did the best they could with best scientifically available data, with the assumption that you had until 2040. Mm-hmm. The subsidence guidance and the language the state is using is that you need to stop it now. So that does really rewrite some of the rules if that is what they are saying. So our comment letter to the state was basically that you've essentially changed the rules for SGMA.
Yeah, you moved the goalposts. I mean, I'm just taking what Mark said into consideration. I mean, it makes total sense. You know, they play by the rules. They fallow X percentage to meet, you know, their requirements to be able to still farm, and then yeah, they just move the goalpost back another 30 yards. This is very frustrating. So we're just in a hold pattern right now until we get more clarification, or what are we doing?
So we need to finish reading the subsidence guidance, and then the state is scheduling meetings with each subbasin. We're also going to meet with our consultants and make sure our notes and their notes are the same and come up with a plan. I do think there is a potential to push back, potentially legally. SGMA requires compliance in critically overdrafted basins by 2040. That said, in the Chowchilla Basin, we are one of the hot spots in the state for subsidence, sometimes 6 to 12 inches a year in some recent periods. That does cause major infrastructure damage, bridges, roads, canals, the lower San Joaquin bypass, the Chowchilla East Side bypass. So, I mean, there is a balance, right? Because subsidence is real. It is damaging infrastructure, particularly domestic wells and ag wells. But at the same time, if you comply with eliminating subsidence today, you're going to end up with no economy. And so obviously that's not what we want.
Sure, I'm not doubting the ramifications of subsidence or that. I'm just saying, we've asked growers to play by the rules, right? And it's already very hard as it is. And this asking them through us to implement these rules and further ramifications when, they've already been playing by the rules and have already made those sacrifices. It's extremely hard, and it makes me want to just hit pause altogether until we can figure out exactly what the rules are before any grower makes any substantive investment decisions with their property. Because I'm trying to put myself in a grower's shoes. I would be very weird to do anything different right now.
It also erodes trust in local government, right? We're trying to implement rules and the state changes the rules. It's very frustrating.
Interesting. All right. Well, this is for further discussion.
Thank you for those questions and comments. At this time, I'm going to look to the public for any public comments they may have, any in the room or online.
We have one online, Amy Stanfield.
Thank you.
Yes,
Amy?
hi. Good afternoon. I had a question specifically as it pertains to Madera County, the subbasin. Now that we have allocations, is there a plan to consider a market which would allow farmers to voluntarily trade allocations amongst each other?
Amy, I think we've had a lot of discussions in the past about a water market. I definitely encourage you to talk with staff offline about those conversations and, of course, any input you have in regards to that. Director Wamhoff and I would be absolutely happy to listen to that. So please reach out to us and we can have those discussions.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Any additional public comment online? I think I saw another hand raised. All right, hearing none. This is an informational item, so we're going to move on to item C, which is an action item.
Item 4C, action item, consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve transfer of appropriations to allocate appropriations to the refunds and reimbursements.
Good afternoon, Directors. Emily Garcia, Madera County GSA. I'll start by providing a quick background of why the transfer of appropriations 25068 is needed. Okay, perfect. Well, in summary, a 2024 groundwater overuse penalty was issued to a master account in the Madera Subbasin. However, that penalty was overturned following an approved appeal, and therefore a refund memorandum was issued to that master account. So on our end, what we need to do is issue that reimbursement to the master account, and in order to do so, following county accounting, we must work on a transfer of appropriations, which in this case it is number 25068, and it's simply to allow the appropriate accounting process on the back end to reimburse this master account. So what does that process look like? Well, in the county GSA admin fee budget, the expenditure funds sit at the appropriation for contingency account. and transfer of appropriation 25068 simply moves $26,120 to the refund and reimbursement account, since this is the appropriate account to be used when refunds are needed. So once this process is complete, that payment to the master account can then occur. I just want to highlight that this is not introducing any new expenditures. It's simply a back-end accounting procedure that we must follow. Our staff recommendation is to approve transfer of appropriation 25068 in the amount of $26,120 to allow the accounting back end to occur to make that reimbursement to the master account.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. Do we have any questions, comments?
Yeah, Emily, thank you. Is this one reimbursement, or is this a conglomeration of people who have appealed and this is the total amount?
It is a total amount for one master account that had a successful appeal for their penalty.
Okay, so just one grower, though?
Correct.
And are we going to do that? How often do we get appeals? I know I'm getting caught up to speed on this GSA, and thank you all for having me, but, sorry, Stephanie. How often do we get these appeals?
We don't, I mean, it's, I know growers have, at the end of their year, they have a chance to make an appeal if they feel that their meter data is different from the satellite data. So I think that it all just falls back on the grower.
Is it regular that we get appeals?
We don't see them too often, but they do occur, and sometimes they're not successful. Sometimes they are.
Okay,
And let me interject, it's about 3 or 4 a year.
great, thank you. And are we doing this every single time someone succeeds on an appeal?
We do need to move the money like this every time someone succeeds on an appeal. And typically, this is handled on consent, so it doesn't get as much attention, but part of the purpose of the committee is really to show you all of what we do in order to make things work. So hence, it's an item.
I got it. It makes sense, because it seems more like a routine consent type of thing, so I didn't
Yep.
know. I appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you for your questions. Do we have any public comment in the room or online?
None online.
All right, hearing none, we'll bring it back for action.
And so moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff,
Yes.
Director McCauley,
Yes,
vote passes 2-0.
thank you for that. We'll move on to item 4D, which again is an action item.
Item 4D, action item, consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to, 1, find that the Prop 68 Chowchilla Sub-Basin Round 1 funding construction project, including construction, is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Executive Order N-7-22. 2, approve the agreement for the Prop 68 Chowchilla Sub-Basin Round 1 funding construction project.
Ready to share? Before you today, we have, good afternoon, directors. My name is Jacinta Cabral, Madera County GSA. Before you today, we have a review of the bidding process for the grant funding for the grant-funded Chowchilla Recharge Project that will include the construction of infrastructure to utilize flood flows off the Chowchilla bypass. This will help to reduce flood risks and through recharge, reduce the rate of subsidence in the area. These projects are fully funded by grants from the California Department of Water Resources. This map shows the general locations of these projects, which are located along the Chowchilla bypass in the Red Top area. The blue line on the map represents the Madera County boundary, and the green line shows the division between Chowchilla Subbasin and the Madera Subbasin. We went out to bid for this project twice. The initial bid was posted November 19th of 2025, and it followed the Public Works Standards process for bidding. We had 13 businesses attend the initial pre-bid meeting for this project, which included a site tour. Bids were opened December 15th of 2025, and we only received one responsive bid. However, the bid was rejected due to the proposal exceeding the available grant funds for the base project. The project was rebid on January 2nd, 2026, with a reduced scope to align with the shortcomings of the grant funding. It followed the same bidding process as before. For the pre-bid meeting, again, we received a fair amount of interest, which with 17 businesses in attendance. Bids were opened on January 28th, and we received 4 responsive bids. The project will be awarded to the lowest bidder and responsive bidder. To keep this project moving forward, we recommend the contract needs to proceed to the next board meeting. Take your questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Jacinta. Do we have any questions?
None for me.
Okay, hearing none, let's go out for public comment. Do we have any public comment in the room or online?
None online.
Okay, hearing none, we're going to bring it back for action.
The room.
Oh, I'm so sorry, please.
Hi. My name's Scott Menifee, Menifee Hill Ranch and Clayton Water District. I'm one of the red dots on your map that you had up there. It came to my attention yesterday that the project, especially for my part of it, has changed substantially since the beginning. I have already executed an easement agreement on my property for this project. This project, when I say this project, I'm about my particular turnout or my particular part of the project, is a valuable project to the county GSA. My project is worthy of further consideration. Through Clayton Water District, my project will potentially serve 6 landowners with an approximate total of 2,600 combined acres. My project is the only means for many of these landowners to connect to surface waters. This board has active incentive to provide more funds and therefore more surface water to the wide area of the county. The grant allocation as proposed overlooks the greater need of the wide area of Clayton Water District to receive surface water that would otherwise not have access to. Clayton Water District and I have always stated that, first of all, we need a turnout. Pipelines are needed, but should be secondary to a turnout. I was always told that if I granted the county an easement, I would get a turnout and a pipeline to my neighbor's property. I feel like I was baited into granting the county an easement, and that at the 12th hour, the plan is switched, as I just found out about this yesterday. Please reconsider a much-needed turnout at my location to serve many landowners in the Clayton Water District who do not have other surface water options. All of these landowners are in the wide area of which this board has authority over and responsibility to. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Scott. Do we have any additional comments online or in person? Okay, we're going to bring it back to the board. Do we have any comments, questions, or are you ready for action?
Yeah, Stephanie, regarding this item and easements,
Yes.
can you help me out in understanding
Jacinta and I can tag team. So I think the last
Perfect.
comment that you heard is actually related to Chowchilla Project 2. This is Chowchilla Project 1.
Okay.
And I will follow up with Mr. Menifee after and his engineer from Provost and Pritchard to make sure that we can get on the same page. But that is a different pot of money and grant.
Okay.
Same
that
part of the world, though.
Makes sense. Thank you. And so moved.
And we'll second. Roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff,
Yes.
Director McCauley,
Yes,
vote passes 2-0.
thank you for that. We'll move on to item E, which is an action item.
Item 4E, action item, consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve a 1-year agreement with Madera Subbasin Annual Report 7-party cost sharing.
Good afternoon, Directors. Alita Allen, Madera County, GSA. The California Code of Regulation. Share my screen, please. Okay. Okay. The California Code of Regulations, Title 23, requires that the GSA annual reports be submitted to the California Department of Water Resources by April 1st of each year following the adoption, and the adoption was done in 2020. DWR requests that the Madera Subbasin submit one-party annual report in addition to an individual GSP report. And as done in the past, costs have been shared amongst the 7 parties. Here's a breakdown of the cost. For Task 1, that is shared by all 7 parties in the GSA, and Task 2 is only shared by the parties in the joint GSP. And staff recommendation is to recommend to the Board of Directors to enter into a 2025 MOU cost sharing for Madera Subbasin GSP Annual Report in the amount of $102,000 and $100, with approximately $80,000 reimbursed by other agencies. And I'd like to say the cost for the Madera County GSA is about $20,000. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alita. And as I understand it, this is an item we typically see every year. Might be one we would typically find on consent calendar, but because this is the GSA committee, we're giving that an extra layer of review. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. With that, I'll look to my colleague. Do you have any questions, comments?
No comments, Alita, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And we'll look out to the public for any comments.
None
Mark,
online.
come on up.
Mark Peters, Madera Subbasin. I fully support this. I support David's engineering, and I support the project. The one thing that appeals to me the largest is in subtask 1.2.3, where they're going to show a graph from 2014 to 2025 on a whole lot of elements. And that's critical for all of us to see how we're doing. And I think that's the second best way. No, it's probably the best way to see how we're doing. But the one thing that it caused me to think about that we're missing, that is done outside of David's, is we know how many acres are fallowed each year. And really, it's the amount of acreage that's fallowed is going to be our key to success. I would like to see at the same time as this report, which, by the way, it's going to be done March 31st. They're fast. It'll probably be presented on April 7th, our committee meeting right then. I would like to see how we're doing on fallowing land. You heard what Lascoide's doing. I'd like to see what the bigger basins are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your comments. Any additional comments in the room or online?
None online.
Seeing none, we're going to bring it back to the board for action.
So moved.
And second, roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff,
Yes.
Director McCauley,
Yes,
vote passes 2-0.
thank you. With that, we're going to move on to item F.
Item 4F, action item, consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve a 1-year agreement with David's Engineering for the Madera Subbasin Annual Report.
Good afternoon, directors. I'm Lady Tapia, Madera County Water Natural Resources, GSA. Ready to share. This item is for the consideration and recommendation to the board to approve a 1-year agreement with David's Engineering for the Madera Subbasin Annual Report. This report project was mentioned in item 4E. The report will ensure compliance with SGMA regulations and provide critical data on groundwater conditions, storage changes, and sustainability progress. Oh my God, what was- The David's Engineering and LSCE team will combine professional services to complete these reports. They will be leveraging analysis and processes developed for prior annual reports and the Subbasin 2025 periodic evaluation, and continue coordinating with the technical consultants for the Gravely Ford, Newstone, and Root Creek Water District GSAs. Their professional services are organized in 2 tasks. Task 1 is to develop one coordinated sub-basin-wide annual report with content relevant to the subbasin as a whole. And task 2 is to develop one joint GSP annual report supplemental document that evaluates and documents content relevant to the joint GSP specifically. So here's the estimated project budget. The cost for each task is shown on the right, and here the costs are further broken down by how much is budgeted for services from David's Engineering and Ludorf and Scalmanini. The estimated total cost to complete all annual reports is $102,100. This amount will be divided up between the 7 GSAs, as previously mentioned. And Madera's GSA is responsible for about the $20,000. Our staff recommendation is for consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve a one-year agreement with David's Engineering for the annual Madera Sub-Basin annual reports. I can take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. See no questions from my colleague. To Mark's point, when David's is going in and doing their analysis, are they going to be looking at land that has been fallowed within the GSA and helping the board understand what is going on out there? Is that?
Sorry, I can barely hear you.
I apologize. So to Mr. Peters' point, will David's Engineering be looking at land that has been fallowed within the GSA and giving us some information around what that looks like and how that's progressing?
Let's see. I believe that's, oh, go ahead, Stephanie. Yeah, Stephanie.
How about now? That's not part of the contract for the annual report, but that was one of the items looking ahead that we can develop is more of a matrix on exactly what is fallowed. I will say this, fallow means different things to different people, and we have done a fair amount of field visits and we would need to decide what we mean by fallow, but happy to do that work. I think it's interesting, as Mr. Peters pointed out, it does give you one way of charting removal of active ag land.
Absolutely. Whether it's a repurposing of land to a less water-intensive purpose or traditional fallowing as we might think of it, I think it's important for the board to understand what is going on out there. So that information I think will be helpful for future planning efforts. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No other questions. Thank
Okay.
you.
With that, we're going to move out to public comment. Any in the room or online? All right. Hearing none, we'll bring it back for action.
So moved.
All right. Second. Roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff,
Yes.
Director McCauley.
Yes.
Vote passes 2-0.
All right. We're going to move on to item G. Again, is an action item.
Item 4G, action item, consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve an agreement with David's Engineering for allocation support for a 3-year agreement. Ready to share? Good afternoon, Directors. Tukta Pedesa, Madera County GSA. This proposal is for a 3-year contract with David's Engineering from 2026 to 2028 to continue to support the county GSA in managing and implementing the groundwater allocation. The scope of services is broken into 3 tasks. Task 1 and 2 provide support for the flow meter measurement method and the AeroWatch by Hydrosat satellite measurement method. Both methods require maintenance of related input data, data management and analysis, quality control processes, review, preparation, and distribution of grower allocation reports. And task 3 is for on-call support, such as attending meetings with growers as needed. The total cost for all 3 years is not to exceed the amount of $927,000, which is about $300,000 each year. A 3-year contract would be helpful in having rate stability for when another rate study is conducted on the GSA admin fee where these costs would need to be laid out. Last year, we looked at costs for both satellite measurement methods, the meter measurement method, adding an accounting platform, as well as support from consultants. Managed to have a cost savings of $70,000 or $180,000 for 3 years in consulting costs, plus the cost of one measurement method, which was approximately $130,000 or $400,000 for all 3 years based on the submitted proposal. The staff recommendation is to enter into this 3-year contract with David's Engineering in an amount not to exceed $927,000 for 2026 to 2028 to continue providing the county GSA with allocation support. This concludes my presentation. Open to your questions.
Thank you,
Thank
Dupta.
you.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Tupta, for that. I appreciate that. With something like this, these contracts, these are on the more expensive end of the thing that we look at and approve. And can you talk about some of the money-saving things that we've done? And now, it's my understanding we have gotten rid of Land IQ, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, and how much was that approximately annually?
Approximately $400,000 for the Land IQ measurement method, and then $180,000 for the 3 years just in consulting costs.
So, and that was a 3-year contract with Land IQ, the 400,000 plus the 100,000?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Let's look to public comment. Do we have anybody in the room or online that would like to provide public comment?
We have one online, Agro World.
Excellent. Devin, can you hear us?
I can. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you, directors, for the time. I just, the comment I have, and it's really it's a prelude to the next action item regarding the groundwater accounting platform. We discussed earlier about fallow fields. This is something that I believe the GSA should be looking about bringing in-house through the groundwater accounting platform. I know there's been pushback from a lot of people on the accounting platform, but it is my understanding this would replace some of the consulting charges that are outgoing, and maybe that's something Stephanie can answer to if she believes that is a correct assumption. But with a lot of this stuff that we're doing, as we know, and I support David's Engineering 100%, but as we can see, there are significant costs. And as we all know, yes, we did save some money on Land IQ, but our goal should be to try to save even more. So I would like to hear more as far as what is ahead with the accounting platform, but it would be my understanding that a lot of this stuff should help save on some of these consulting costs. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Devin. Do we have any additional comments or questions this time? All right, hearing none, we're going to bring it back to the board.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion, and I'll go ahead and second. Roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff?
Yes.
Director McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 2-0.
All right, we're going to move on to item H, which is an informational item.
Item 4H, informational item, review of groundwater accounting platform status.
Sorry about that. Hello again.
Howdy.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a little background. In May, we issued the RFP for a measurement and platform, and we had 7 proposals. And in July, we did public presentations at the GSA Committee Meeting. Questions were collected from growers and public presentations. Grower review period was at the end of July. We did have a considerable amount of objection to purchasing a platform. There was 41% that said no. In October, we did a webinar for growers based on the top 3 platforms as voted by growers. And then in November, we did a follow-up questionnaire to growers on the groundwater accounting platform only. And the key functions for a groundwater accounting platform are: it tracks water usage from any remote sensed and metered data source, shows available water supply, including allocations, recharge, and other credits. It visualizes water use at field, parcel, and account scales with a grower-facing dashboard. And we did a questionnaire based on number of APNs, and if you could see in blue, 4 Creeks was 55%, In orange, DE was 4%. In gray, California Water Data Consortium was 32%. And then in yellow, we had 9% that do not want an accounting platform. And then if you do by acreage, you see in blue, we have Four Creeks at 38%, we have DE at 2%. In gray, we have a California Water Data Consortium, 50%, and then in yellow, we have 10% saying they do not want a county platform. And then on this last chart, we have by farm unit, and as you can see, in blue, Four Creeks is 19%, DE is 7%, and in gray, California Data Water Consortium is 42%, and then you have 32% that do not, in yellow, that do not want an accounting platform. So the next steps are, there was significant opposition to a groundwater accounting platform despite educational efforts and presentations by potential vendors, conflicting responses in terms of top choices, as what you've seen by the charts. Reference checks suggest that base costs escalated quickly when customized. It's not a plug and play. So staff recommendation is we'll wait until the fall and revisit. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alita. Do you have any questions this time?
No, I agree. I understand that it's kind of a contentious when it comes to who wants it, who doesn't want it. Some people are very passionate about it, and some are very passionate the other way. And I think it's the right choice to just wait on this one.
I do have a couple questions, actually, specifically in regards to the survey. Do we have a sense of like which folks are in support and those that are against it? It seems to me, based on the data that you've presented, that it seems to be some of the smaller farmers or the smaller farm units are less apt to, I guess, dive into this technology, whereas some of the larger farm units seem to be more proponents for it. Am I reading that correctly? Can you help me understand?
Yeah, yes, you are reading that correctly.
Okay. And so it just seems to me that, that makes sense. And I think the irony in it to me, and not knowing enough, I could be completely wrong, it would seem that the smaller farm units would likely benefit more than the larger farm units. So it does seem to me that there is a huge opportunity here, for education, and certainly appreciate the fact that we went out there and were attempting to educate everybody on what this could do. I think my point behind this is we need to continue. We need to continue to ensure that people know what a resource this could be, so we can move towards more agreements around this idea of a accounting platform. It's certainly not something that I want to jump in and because really if the smaller farmers aren't going to use it, it does become a burden on them. And so we need to get the smaller farm units in a position where they understand what this is, to where we can provide them with the technical assistance they need. Because really, I think at the end of the day, and again, I'm fairly ignorant to this, so I apologize if I'm speaking out of line. I think this could be something that is very beneficial to those same farm units that are opposed to it. So I think, again, there's a big opportunity here, so I encourage staff to continue down this path. With that, we'll take it out to public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment in the room or online?
I have two, Agro-World first and Eric Rodriguez second.
Okay, Devin?
Thank you again, Directors Devin Avilas, Agro Cooperative. Again, I'm just going to reiterate where I think Director McCauley, I think your comments are right on point, is the fact that I don't know if, many growers understand all the benefits of what an accounting platform can do. I've just heard people opposed to it, but I haven't really heard their justifications on why they're opposed to it, especially if we're trying to get ahead of things. We should be looking at this because, as previously stated in this meeting, there are people that are questioning the water market. Well, in order to start the water market, we need to know who wants to participate in that. And to your point about smaller growers, unfortunately, some of the smaller growers will be the first ones hit with having a fallow ground. So I think that it's important, as you stated, to get some more feedback from the smaller growers on why. I think another important item to consider, since Water and Natural Resources now has, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but someone that's doing the accounting, I would like to see prepared what we think an accounting platform, the cost of it, and what the cost of savings could be by internalizing some of those efforts that are being done by the consultants. That's my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. I'm going to go ahead and on to Eric, and then we'll move over to Mark in the room.
Yeah, hello, this is Eric Rodriguez with UC A&R. I'm actually the community education specialist on Sigma for small farmers. As far as I can tell from my interactions with small farmers, a lot of the hesitancy to join something like an accounting platform or some larger attempt to really track how much water is being used and where it's going really boils down to a lot of smaller farmers not having the ability to really join it in a way that's impactful for them. It is much easier for larger producers to take advantage of something like satellite data collection on ET, just because a lot of smaller producers, they're kind of pushed to join programs that are very beneficial for their soil and for their smaller farms, but they don't really get taken into consideration when it comes into something based off of satellite, because they may have one crop type, they may have 12 different crop types, and there's no way for them to account, or a satellite currently to account for how much water they're using based off of ET, especially when you start getting into things like cover cropping or intercropping or intermittent fallowing or things like that, where they're really not applying water to any of their ground, but it's reading that they are, just based off of the way that the systems do have to work. Additionally, a lot of smaller producers have no choice but to join leases, and sometimes those are 5 years, 3 years, a year. Some areas in Fresno even get down to a few months at a time. So if there were to be some kind of let's focus on this and let's get some meters installed, let's look at a rebate program. If somebody's stuck on leases, perpetually, where they are doing registering, they are taking their certification courses, they are reporting, different information that they're required to, they can't really easily take those items with them, because they may own the new pump, right? They may have contributed to the well significantly. They may have done most of the purchasing for the new meter, but they don't have enough money to take it and move to the next area, or they're afraid of getting blacklisted for, removing infrastructure. And we've had reports of that as well, and I've even seen it in my experience working for NRCS, where producers, were given contracts to improve infrastructure and join a lot of, really high tech or new accounting platforms, but they had to have the backing to be able to take their systems with them, or they were, told by a landowner, okay, now because you're installing this, we're going to guarantee you for the next 10 years, 15 years on this lease, so you can make your money back, and thank you, we really appreciate it. And then when next summer came around and they were supposed to re-sign and include that 10 to 15 year extension, they yanked the rug out on them, and they said, actually, no, this bigger corporate affiliated farm wants, these 20 acres, these 10 acres, and I'm going to have to give it to them. I'm sorry. That's nothing obviously against any kind of accounting, like you guys had mentioned, and a lot of other sentiments, that I've heard. They are very beneficial for small farmers. It's just really, really difficult for, somebody in these lease situations, or in these more landowner oriented or much more nuanced on, actual operations when it comes down to what the small acreage looks like in the day to day, or even as the season goes on. It's really difficult, and I don't necessarily know if there's a way to approach it in a way that's effective for everybody. But I do appreciate the GSA sentiments, and it seems like the community sentiments in really investing in that. Doing educational outreach for community members that own and operate smaller acreage. And I know for one, I'm here, but as well as UCA and our staff in Madera and Fresno counties and surrounding areas are more than happy to join any attempts that there, may be in the future when it comes to education, data collection, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Greatly appreciate those comments. Mark?
Yeah, Mark Peters again. Hey, I'm not against an accounting platform at all. I am fearful that it won't be used. 100% of us have to measure our water. If only 20% are going to use an accounting platform, then we're spending a lot of money on 20%. So my suggestion is for staff to determine how many people or how many acres or how many APNs or whatever you wanted to do have to use it for it to make sense, and then work with all of our growers and the community to see if we can get up to that number. I'll just say, I'll make it up, 50% to make sense. And if we could then come back and confidently say, we can get 50%, and that's my number, don't take my number, but we can get 50% of people to use the accounting platform. Wow, that's a good number. That's a damn good number. So let's take a practical approach of how we get there, and we might very well get there. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. All right, unless there is any additional public comment, we're going to bring it back to the board for any comments, questions you may have.
Yeah, I did, regarding that graph that was put up during the presentation, I think you brought up just a really great observation that didn't even jump out at me at first. But, by acres, it's like 90% want some accounting platform. And by farm units, it's 68% or something like that, right? I forget the exact number, but I would really like to dive into those farm units that said no and really understand why. If we can develop some sort of comprehensive understanding for why they don't want it or why they don't need it or whatever the case is, and work on that, because I think, if we're looking at number of farm units, to Mark's point, I think it would be much greater than 20%, even as it sits, but understanding why those others who, by the most logical standpoint, would seem to benefit the most generally from those platforms. What's the holdup? And maybe it's education. Maybe it's something that I haven't thought of or am not aware of. And I'd be curious to learn what those are.
Thank you for those comments. Yeah, and building off that, I am curious to know, where accounting platforms are in place right now. I'm sure there's, something we can learn from them. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. But if we are going to move forward with an accounting platform, it would be my preference that we have some sort of support system in place for small growers to ensure that they can utilize the software. Because I think that's what success looks like at the end of the day, is ensuring that, those that need it most have the tools and the support they need to be successful. So, if we can figure out a way to make that work, whether it's, already been done in a neighboring community, or, if we have to invent the wheel, then let's figure out how to make that work, because I think everybody's points are well taken. So unless you have any additional comments, then we're going to go ahead and move on to item I, which is an action item.
Item 4I, action item, consideration and recommendation to the Board of Directors to approve a receipt of unanticipated revenue of Groundwater Sustainability Plan Domestic Well Mitigation Appropriations.
Good afternoon. Jared Weeks with the Madera County GSA. The item before you today is for the discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 25072 in the amount of $2,398,000 derived from the GSA project fee and will go into the GSA's professional and specialized services for fiscal year 25-26. As part of the GSP adoption, the board previously established the project fee to fund specific implementation projects identified in the GSP. These projects are intended to address documented groundwater overdraft conditions and to advance implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. Wait, let the slides fix real quick.
We're just trying to test you.
Is that it?
Good.
Yeah, I
You're
appreciate
doing
it.
great.
Did you even catch that it was the wrong slide?
No, I just jumped right into it. Let's see, while the GSP project fee has been approved and revenues have been collected, some of those funds were not formally appropriated in the current fiscal year. Today's action simply aligns these previously approved revenues with their intended authorized use. The proposed appropriation is limited solely to domestic well mitigation project, which is a core GSP implementation project. This project provides mitigation for domestic wells that are impacted by declining groundwater levels due to basin-wide overdraft, consistent with the adopted GSP. This action does not establish a new fee. It does not increase or expand the scope of approved GSP projects, and it does not modify the structure or purpose of the existing GSP project fee. This is an administrative and budget alignment action that allows the GSA to use previously approved funds for their intended purpose under the GSP. The staff recommends approval of the appropriations as presented. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jared. We have any questions?
Yeah, and Jared, this is just administrative stuff required to go before a board to move appropriations, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you for that. For the benefit of the public, we have had discussions about pre-funding this domestic well mitigation fund in an effort to just get that money out the door more quickly. So we're not waiting to collect revenue in order to disperse it to, manage the program. I just want to be sure the public knows that those discussions continue, that staff is looking to identify an appropriate amount, if necessary, in order to fund that program. But it is a discussion that continues. But as is, most things with the county, we just want to get it right. So we want to ensure that we're not putting too much money in a fund that would be unnecessary. So those conversations continue, and it is my hope that at a later date we'll have some resolution around that conversation. So with that, I want to look to the public for any comments they may have. Do we have any public comment in the room or online?
None online.
Come on up, Mark.
Please clarify one more time. Having $2.4 million available is terrific. I'm still confused as to where it's coming from and how it just showed up, and I certainly support having it used for domestic well mitigation. I just don't understand it.
Jared, if you may.
Yes, this revenue comes from the GSP fee that was authorized back in, I believe it was July of 2025, shortly after the budget was adopted, so that's why it's not included in the budget. But it is from the GSP project fee. It's solely for domestic well mitigation currently.
Okay, thank you. All right, unless there's any additional public comment online or in person, we're going to bring it back to the board for action.
So moved.
Second, roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff?
Yes.
Director McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 2-0.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item 4J.
Item 4J, action item, consideration and recommendation to approve a resolution amending rules and eligibility criteria for implementing the domestic well mitigation program in the Madera County Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Madera Subbasin. This proposed resolution and policy is consistent with the authority granted under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act under guidelines sections 15307, 15308, and 15061B3.
Jared?
Good afternoon, Jared Weeks with the Madera County GSA. It's the correct slide this time. This item provides an update on the status of the Madera County Madera GSA Domestic Well Mitigation Program and requests your consideration of amendments to Program Rules and Resolution Number 2025-141. The board last received a comprehensive update on this program on November 12th, 2025. Since that time, substantial progress has been made toward full implementation, including completion of program rules, outreach materials, and the completion of the program's first 2 applicants. The Domestic Well Mitigation Program is a core component of GSP implementation. Its purpose is to provide mitigation for domestic wells that are impacted by declining groundwater levels due to basin-wide overdraft. The program establishes eligibility criteria, application and review procedures, and a framework for coordinating mitigation services. It also places a strong emphasis on public outreach and transparency so domestic well owners within the Madera County GSA understand the program and know how to access it. At the November 12, 2025 board meeting, staff provided an overview of the program framework. That update included development of the program rules, outreach activities conducted to date, preparation of the draft application, approval of the program administrator and contract, and development and release of a well driller request for qualifications. Since that update, the program has advanced from development into active implementation. The program rules have been finalized and the application has been completed and made available in both English and Spanish. A landowner agreement has been developed and is currently undergoing legal review. In addition, public-facing program resources have been completed and launched. Flyers and postcards have been developed. A dedicated program website is now up and running, which provides access to the program rules, the bilingual application, an interactive dynamic map for parcel and GSA information, contact information for all Madera sub-basin GSAs, and additional resources for domestic well owners. And if you would like to view the website, it's maderadrywell.com. Additionally, a dedicated Madera Dry Well Program telephone line has been established to support domestic well owners with assistance available in both English and Spanish. With these components in place, program implementation activities are now underway. GSA staff and program administrator are prepared to continue intake and eligibility review as additional applications are received. Now, despite all the progress that has been made, this item does request your approval of a revision to the program's rules and an amendment to the resolution adopting the program. After multiple discussions with County Council regarding the program rules, the implementation process, and public contracting requirements, it was determined that the process outlined in Exhibit A of Resolution Number 2025-141 would not provide the efficiency or timeliness necessary to ensure applicants receive an adequate domestic water supply in a timely manner. As a result, this item proposes amendments to Resolution Number 2025-141 to modify the program rules and processes as shown on this slide. The first revision is to state that the deposit is non-refundable for applicants that do not qualify. This is not so much of a revision, but an opportunity to clear up some confusion on the topic. Once a well qualifies, the GSA will allow the landowner to solicit 3 bids from well drillers, with 2 of those bids being from the GSA's pre-qualified well drill list. Once the GSA has those 3 bids in hand, one will be selected and approved to begin work. GSA will then advance funds to the landowner on a schedule that is deemed appropriate by the GSA and backed up by the project's financial documentation and eligibility criteria. The proposed amendments also authorize the director to approve projects that meet the criteria outlined in Exhibit A of the resolution, with individual project approvals not to exceed $35,000. These changes are intended to streamline implementation while maintaining consistency with program eligibility requirements and public contracting laws. Again, this item updates the board on the successful launch of the Domestic Well Mitigation Program and requests your consideration and recommendation to approve a resolution amending the program rules and eligibility criteria. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Jared. Any questions for Jared? I think we're gearing up for one here. Just one moment.
I'm a little slow, Jared. Thank you.
I will, while he's formulating his thoughts, I think for the public benefit, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jared, some of these changes that are being, under consideration is really driven from the public contracting laws. It's not necessarily our desire to make things more difficult for anybody, but, is absolutely our desire to, protect the public's interest. And oftentimes that means, protecting us from unnecessary liability, which is, I think, in essence, what we're doing here. So thank you for bringing this forward. Appreciate it. And it looks like my colleague is ready to go here.
That's what we called it, moving at the speed of government.
That's right.
With the contracting law. This is one of my favorite things about working for government is how slow everything is. So regarding the assessment, it says the county or its agent. Have we identified who will be doing these assessments?
Ludorf and Scalamini?
What's that?
Ludorf and Scalamini,
Okay.
LSCE.
How much are they charging per assessment?
I don't have that number for you.
Do you have a roundabout, just a ballpark even? If
No,
not,
we,
that's okay.
we actually contracted with David's Engineering, who then contracts with LSCE to perform that service.
And it's actual field work, correct?
Yes, they will be on site at the well.
I would be curious to know how much each assessment, and is this one of those things that we've gone out to bid on assessments, or is this just one of those consulting hourly rates that costs us $700 an hour to have someone come out and do an hour and a
For
half
the record,
assessment?
we do not have any consultants that charge $700 an hour or
I was exaggerating, but it seems like they make $1 million an hour. these consultants.
$450 an hour, anything like that. We do pay an hourly rate for this. We have not had it happen so far, but they have been instructed to do multiple ones per day so that there's cost savings there. So we can come back and report what it takes to assess the well. It is considerably more in my estimate than the $100 we're asking for initially, but the $100 is so people have skin in the game.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that and agree with that. I just, when it comes to these assessments, is it something that this consulting firm is actually sending their people out, or are they subcontracting for someone who actually knows how to work on wells for $26 an hour?
It's LSCE actually going out there.
Their employees that are actually
Yes.
going out, okay.
Yes, you get a geologist, professional geologist.
Got it, all right. MaderaDryWell.com, I just have to say, that's not the best economic development driver for Madera County marketing effort when we're trying to bring people in.
We solicited it and paid.
MaderaDryWell.com, okay. And I want to talk about standardized program criteria when people are applying for this and when staff reviews the criteria, because what I don't want to have happen is, it comes before this body and then we get every Tom, Dick, and Harry who gets to outline or provide their 2 cents on a particular well project, saying, well, this one shouldn't qualify or this one should qualify. I want to make sure that that the residents and the people are aware of what that program criteria is, agree with that criteria, and then delegate that responsibility to staff to implement as long as each of those projects meet the criteria.
Correct. There will be a list of criteria, a checklist, you could say, that we'll be following, as well as a checklist from LSCE that determines, oh, this well is dewatered due to declining groundwater levels. So there's 2 separate criteria that will be met and checked off by multiple parties before it actually gets authorized to move ahead.
But what I'm saying is that authorization is not going to come back before this board for final approval?
That's correct. If you approve this resolution, it would give the director approval to move forward on those projects as long as we meet certain criteria.
Got it. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Regarding the milestone payments and contracting requirements and disbursement of funds, we're going to have a set contract that outlines generalized construction milestone, payment milestones, completion milestones, and it's going to be our standardized agreement, correct? So any well driller that wants to jump on, they're going to have to agree and abide by our own contract? Or are we just delegating this directly to the homeowner to get their own contractor? Because apparently they can either pick one of our 2 people or get their own. But if they get their own, that contractor is going to have to abide by our contract? Is that how I understand this?
So the county GSA would have a contract with the landowner.
Right.
The landowner has a contract with the driller. The driller is their choice from the 3 or the lowest, which is, of course, what we prefer and is required by county contracting code. And then the terms for payment would be in their contract with the driller.
But as far as a protection of the fund and protection of taxpayer funds regarding this report, is if they're choosing a contractor who's not on our approved list, we should be able to set those milestone requirements as far as substantial completion or what have you before we disperse the vast majority of the funds to the landowner or to the contractor, correct?
That's right. That's in the contract between the landowner and the county GSA.
So there
How
is
we
going to
pay
be
them.
a contract, regardless of the landowner, with the contractor and the county, even if they choose a contractor that is not with us?
There's an agreement, a contract between the county GSA and the landowner
Okay,
that has all of the payment terms and the requirements for paying back, requirements for qualification, which are already in your adopted resolution. And then they are entering into a contractor agreement with the driller.
right, no, I understand that.
Okay.
My question is protecting taxpayer funds, dispersing funds too early before substantial completion of a project for a driller that is not on our preferred list?
So that would be in the landowner and county GSA contract. We're not giving them money before a certain % of the work is done, according to criteria, and this is being reviewed by council.
Okay, that was my concern, just protecting taxpayer funds with contractors who may want 50% or some percentage before some substantial completion, then they end up, hightailing it out of town or whatever, so.
That is in a contract that's in the landowner and the GSA agreement.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate those questions. With that, we're going to look out to the public for any public comment in the room or online.
We have one online. Eric?
Hello again. Just a question in general regarding the public-facing materials. Has there been some look at potential Punjabi translations? I know PAG has a very strong presence in the area, but I wanted to make sure that, if anybody's attempting to find stuff on their own, that they do have the chance to read them.
Thank you for that, Eric. Appreciate that, and I'm sure that's something we may be able to accommodate. Looking at staff, and I think I got an affirmative there, so thank you for that comment. With that, we're going to bring it back to the board for action.
I'm so moved.
Second, roll call, please.
Director Wamhoff?
Yes.
Director McCauley?
Yes.
Vote passes 2-0.
Excellent. Thank you. With that, we're going to move on to our GSA Director's report.
Short report from me. We are working on a training for anyone in ERA Watch. That will be February 12th at 11 o'clock. You should have gotten a save the date email from your water resource specialist. I know we've had some questions about this year and how wet it has been. We did have a state water survey at the end of January, and that's finding the snow water equivalent at about 33% of normal. So that's pretty dry. I know there has been a lot of water in some of the Ash, Brenda, and Fresno River, but that's all contracted water and not due to flood flows. And then just a quick update that staff did go to a USDA grant conference last week at Fresno State and received more information about some of the issues we work with, including evapotranspiration of applied water and some information on cover crops as well that we'll be pushing out.
Great, thank you. Do we have anybody else?
None online.
Okay. Well, let me see here. All right, well, do we have anything else from County Council?
No, thank you.
All right. Do we have any public comment regarding Director's report? Yeah.
None.
All right. Well, you can adjourn us.
Director's report, so we're going to go ahead and call the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.